How can you protect your legacy to provide for your family for generations to come? In this video, we're going to talk about dynasty trusts and how they can be a great tool to let you protect your legacy for generations of your family to come. I'm estate planning attorney Mike Smith with Smith Barid LLC, and I'm one half of the Estate Planning Guys. Dynasty trusts have their origin in what's called the generation skipping tax. So wealthy people in the United States figured out a long time ago that they could avoid the estate tax by simply skipping a generation. So they could name their grandchildren, for example, instead of their children as the beneficiaries of their estate, and that allowed them to avoid the estate tax. When Congress realized what people were doing, they quickly fixed that by creating what's called the generation skipping tax. And so if you make a gift from your estate that skips a generation, then there's a whole other tax that applies to that called the generation skipping tax. A dynasty trust can avoid that generation skipping tax issue by keeping the assets in trust for generations to come. And in some states, you can create a trust that lasts forever. In other states, like Georgia, for example, has a 365-year statute on trust that allow a 365-year-long dynasty trust. So if you're interested in learning more about how we help families protect their legacies from probate, predators, and government intrusions, I wrote a free book titled The Ultimate Gift that lays it all out. If you'd like to pick up your free copy of The Ultimate Gift, simply click the link below, give us your address and a credit card for shipping and handling fees, and we'll ship it out to you free of charge. Read The Ultimate Gift so you can learn how to protect your family. Now, as I said, the generation skipping tax was the primary motivation behind creating these dynasty trusts, but there are some other benefits to them that can be of great value to you. So let's talk about what those are. The first one is that it keeps the assets that you're leaving for your children and grandchildren and generations to come outside of their estates. So when you make that gift to the trust, there may be a gift tax that's triggered, or you may have exemption that covers that, but then going down the generations, because these assets are kept in a trust, there won't be estate tax that's due at each generation. So it avoids that multi-generational estate tax that would have applied if you just simply left the assets outright to the beneficiaries. One of the other huge benefits of a dynasty trust is that they provide asset protection. So frequently clients come to us and they say, hey, I really want to leave my son, a big portion of my estate, but I'm really concerned that, something may happen with his marriage and he and his wife may end up getting divorced. And I just would hate to see the assets that I've left for him go to his ex-wife. Is there anything we can do about that? Well, a dynasty trust is a way that we can protect those assets against his ex-wife and any ex-spouse to come for generations. The way that the dynasty trust is created, that is a gift that is left for those beneficiaries. It doesn't become a marital asset. It's completely separate, so it's not subject to any kind of property settlement. It additionally offers protection against creditors. So if your son, for example, has a car wreck and gets sued, if he owned all these assets in his own name, then potentially that creditor in that lawsuit, that person who sued him, would be able to reach those assets to satisfy that judgment. But with the dynasty trust, they're in a separate bucket. They're not his assets. So if he has that car wreck, or he gets in a bad business deal, or he needs to file bankruptcy, none of those assets are available to satisfy those creditors. So it's great asset protection. It won't work for you, but it will work for your children and your grandchildren and generations to come as an asset protection vehicle. Now, if you're interested in asset protection for yourself, that's a whole topic for a different video on a different day. The dynasty trust will not provide asset protection for you, but it will provide great asset protection for generations of your family to come. I really think of a dynasty trust sort of like a family bank, and there are lots of neat things you can do with it. Like it can be used to make loans to family members to purchase a home, for example. The trust can also own assets, so it could own a vacation home that family could use for vacations that would never go to an ex-spouse, so you could keep it in the family that way. There's just a lot of different ways that you can use a dynasty trust to benefit your family for generations to come. And speaking of generations to come, people always ask, well, how long can a dynasty trust last? And that varies by state statute. Originally, under the English common law, there was something called the rule against perpetuities that said that you could have a trust that lasted from the date of birth of a beneficiary of the trust for their lifetime plus 21 years. So that got you maybe 100 years if a person lived to be 80 years old. But recently, many states have begun to modify those rules against perpetuities. And in some states, they've abolished it altogether, so you can create a trust last forever, to infinity and beyond. In other states, they've modified the rule against perpetuities, so some states have, 100, 150, 200, 300 year trust that you can create. So it varies some by jurisdiction, but needless to say, it can last for a very long time and benefit your family for many, many years to come. So if you're interested in talking about a dynasty trust, get in touch, click our button, schedule an appointment. We'd love to talk with you. Mike Smith, Smith Barid LLC, the estate planning guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, then take a moment right now to subscribe by clicking below and turn on the bell notification so you get notified every time we post up a new video. Right now we're posting 3 videos a week with lots of information about various estate planning topics, so you're going to want to make sure to stay on top of that. Click below to subscribe and click right over here to watch the next most relevant video about estate planning. Go watch it now.